every year for about 15, 16 years now, U.S. Fish and Wildlife has done a survey one day, one evening in different counties, different volunteers go to different areas, and they count the number of cranes that come in to roost. Pardon my head swimming around, but I'm looking for cranes. Cranes like to roost at night. They don't feed in the water, but they like to stand in the water for safety, and they require a water of a certain depth and water with a hard bottom. And just so happens over in the North Cove over here where Stony Lake comes closest to Stony Lake Road, is perfect conditions for them most years. There's usually a large group of cranes as the summer goes on that will gather there in the evening, and they'll stay there until the lake actually freezes. Excuse me when I write down 3 more just came in. And every year they try to do this at a whole bunch of different spots on the same day, and that way they get some idea how the population is doing, rising, falling, whatever. In our case, we have had numbers that range over the years as high as 850 and as low as 275 or whatever. I would say on the average it's around 600. Depends a little bit on the level of the lake and what mitigating circumstances. Tonight we have a bit of a mitigating circumstance in the fact that a little earlier here there was an immature bald eagle swimming around, which would keep any crane from wanting to stay here for the night and become dinner. Water level is the key feature. The Audubon Center, a few miles from here, traditionally had a ton of them in there. In fact, they've had as many as 8,500 come to roost in the evening. And the last few years, they haven't had many because the water level is too high. First, they thought this was beavers that were damming up the outlet stream, but when they got rid of them, it didn't help. What it boils down to is an invasive, which has been here in Stony Lake for at least 50 years, called narrow-leaf cattail, which is from Asia. And those of you who are familiar with camp, first ones I saw were around 1973 or 4, out where the bathtub was in the pasture, and toward the little lake down there. In the last 45 years, it has totally taken over most of the shoreline, and even in places where there was no cattails before. Very aggressive plant. It's actually clogged up the entrance creek to Stony Lake, which comes down from the south, a little tiny lake back there called Mud Lake, and you can't even hardly find the stream. You certainly can't find the end of it. But luckily, there's enough hard bottom over here that's sand and gravel and stuff like that where cranes can stand. It can't take hold. But that's a whole other story. In 1969, there were 2 people that drove all the way from Tennessee to see the one pair of Sandhill cranes that were here because they were that rare. And I know when I worked here in 1966 and the years I spent here as a camper in the 50s, I never saw it. And here we are. A lot of years, I've seen as many as 1,000 here at one time or another, different years, and they are just everywhere.